just right this time. All right. Thank you, folks, for joining us. We have a presentation that we wanted to share with you today. Got that right. Um our presentation is called Unwrap Love, How Past Heartache Can Lead to Future Happiness. My name is Gabe Leal,
I'm Yvette Richardson.
and this is just our journey as a couple to share our love story. Our goal is simple. This discussion will help. We will help others explore, discover, and educate themselves on what love can truly become past their traumas. So we're going to start with our own struggles in our past relationships. I just want to issue a bit of a trigger warning that some of the things that we discuss are a bit difficult, but necessary in sharing our stories with you guys. Our past relationships saw us falling prey to things like mental and physical abuse and things and experiencing things like trauma bonding. So we're going to discuss a little bit what trauma bonding is, how it sort of affected our relationships, and just the things that we want to touch on that, again, were very difficult for us. But we hope that you will find not only hope, but you will find value in what we have to share, and that it will ultimately maybe be the thing that gets you into the place of finding a good, loving, stable relationship. So, um, I'm gonna let my partner in love share a little bit about herself first, and then I will introduce me, and then we'll just start talking a little bit more about our story together. And we're gonna start with our past and go from there. We'll go into our future and our happiness.
Hello. So I am so much happier today than I used to be from my past. But yeah, sometimes the relationships that we get involved in are not ideal, not something that we would particularly choose to be involved in. But sometimes circumstances happen and we may end up with a partner that is not the best choice for us. So my first relationship that was not ideal was actually an abusive relationship, and it was hugely trauma bonding. What he would do is make me feel good, say amazing things to me, and then all of a sudden be abusive, and then say he was sorry, and it was just this never-ending cycle of abuse, mental, physical, constant. That happened for a couple of years. The only thing that got me out of that situation was getting pregnant. So when I got pregnant, I decided that I was not going to allow an abusive person to be involved in my child's life. So I decided to cut all ties. I even told him that he's probably not the father. I said a bunch of stuff just to kind of get him out of my life, and I moved on. I did he contacted me when my daughter was a little bit older. She was about two, going on three, and he wanted to get involved, told me he had changed, promised that he was a different person. So I believed him, let him back into my life, and the cycle returned. So cut all ties again. And that time I was like, no, no more. I'm not going to let him mess with my child's mind. So I completely stopped talking to him. Years and years later, I had not dealt with the trauma that I had gone through, and I thought that just by putting it out of sight, out of mind, not thinking about him, that I could heal and move on, but it didn't happen that way. So I think I carried a lot of that baggage into relationships. It caused me not to trust other people. It was very difficult for me to trust anyone. And then when I finally thought I had trusted someone, that relationship did not end well. So I ended up getting married. I was married for about 10 years. And in that relationship, I think I just basically resigned to um, agree to disagree. And my life just kind of became, I don't know, just, I guess, boring pretty much. I was living day to day. We had kind of passive aggressive arguments. We didn't really address anything. We became more of roommates, we grew apart, and the relationship just wasn't what I thought it was going to be from the beginning. Like I thought I was really in love. I thought this person was different. And it was in the beginning, but then over time things changed and it didn't work out. So I ended up going through a very traumatic period of my life where I um, did not know what was going on. I thought I was having a midlife crisis, and I tried to fix my marriage, and that didn't work. And so then I started noticing everything that was wrong in the marriage, and did not handle that very well because I didn't realize I was going through a manic episode. So the relationship ended up ending for a while. I had to be hospitalized, and in that process, I remember I didn't think anything was wrong with me. I just knew that my mind was moving really rapidly. A lot of thoughts were going in my mind, and I was trying to solve every single mystery and problem and memory that I had from the beginning of time. And so, as I was putting together all these pieces in my mind and trying to figure out why I was where I was in that point in my life, I realized that I needed to deal with that trauma, that earlier trauma in my life where I was stuck in that abusive relationship. So, I decided to contact him and ask him questions point blank, like, why did you abuse me? What did I do wrong? How were you able to manipulate and control me the way that you did? And through those conversations, I realized that he had his own issues and he had gone through trauma himself that had led him to that point. Not only the things that he had experienced when he was growing up, but then also being addicted to drugs. So, in that moment, I believe that it was God that intervened and allowed me to see that he was human and I could forgive him. And as I forgave him, I was able to heal and move on and be able to talk about my past without it destroying and interrupting my thoughts, without it causing me to be triggered and be upset over it. I was able to move on in a healthy way. Unfortunately, my marriage did not survive the ups and downs of having bipolar. But what I learned from that is I needed to rediscover who I was. So I took that time to really focus on myself, realize that I didn't need anybody to be happy. I could focus and work on my own life. I discovered new friends. I went to church. I started volunteering. And I started to realize that I could be happy without having anybody in my life. But I was still a little bit bored when my daughter would go to her dad's house, and that was always difficult for me to just figure out extra things to do. So I decided, well, what the heck? Let me start dating. So the dating world is a little challenging as well, and I didn't always end up talking to the right people. And sometimes, they say things in the beginning and totally change, and so I still, was leery about trusting someone right from the get-go. But eventually I found this wonderful and amazing man right here. And as he came into my life, I realized that I could give him my heart. I could trust him completely. And it was a totally new and different experience that I had ever had in my life.
So, what were, do you think, some of the things that you, in dealing with your past, right, and trying to heal yourself, what were some of the things that kind of helped you transition from turning all that pain and heartache into um, wisdom and growth and personal growth? I mean, there were plenty of things that you went through that most people probably don't have the same sort of reaction to, because yours was not only one that was compounded by discovering that you had a mental diagnosis that happened in the midst of all of this here, but then also um, trying to reestablish um, just your life and being a mother in two different times, two different uh, individuals, and like having to grow from all of that because when I met you, and you told me your story and the things that you went through, I was just I was blown away. To be honest, I was just blown away. Um, but yeah, what were some of those things that you took from that that helped you, I guess, get to a point where you could be ready to meet somebody and bring them into your life?
Well, I think I had to come to the realization that there was a reason why I struggled. There was a reason why I went through that up and I went through the most terrible down of my life. I've never experienced such a dark depression like I did. And going into those depths and feeling like nobody was there and God wasn't real and just all of that struggle and trying to every day scream in my mind, get up, move. I realized that going down into that darkness and then being able to come up, that I was a survivor. Not just a survivor, but I could make some changes in my life that actually could help other people. And it also helped me develop a sense of empathy and compassion for other people. And it just opened my eyes to where I wasn't as judgmental anymore, and it wasn't just a textbook definition of what depression is. It was something that I actually experienced myself. And I knew that if I came to a point where all of that was gone and I could come back and rise to the surface and be happy again, then I wanted to choose happiness. As long as I could choose happiness every single day and do things in my life that um made me happy. Choose happiness and choose joy in those moments of every day, then I could sustain myself and stay in a stable state of mind. And so once I started doing that and I started developing friendships and I started going to church and I started serving, then I knew I was ready to be that healthy person that somebody would want in their life. It wasn't like I was searching for somebody to complete me. I was already complete.
Ooh, yes. You were complete. And for me, the things that I dealt with, um, going through going through a separation and then finally leaving a 24-year relationship, it took a lot to look inside myself and also just to like look at my life and think about a lot of the things of I needed to heal myself before I could do anything, before I could even experience joy and happiness again because I felt I had lost it. I got to a point where I wanted to end my life. That's how terrible it was for me. Uh, but you know, the thing that really when I went back and started looking at the reasons of why things fell apart and what part I played in those things. I also, I also made a lot of mental notes of all the things that really made me feel like I was less than, uh, because I being in such a long relationship, you stop at times you just stop paying attention to the things around you. And for me, it was like understanding that I did have a value more than just being a provider from my family. It was moving past the silent aggressions, the passive aggressive attitudes and things that I had to experience, and the mine wasn't so much physical abuse as much as it more emotional and mental. Um, just being called things, being called names. Ki- excuse me, kind of comparatively being put next to somebody that made you look at yourself and think you're not worthy. Like you're not living up to your potential. You're not doing a lot of things that really made me just feel terrible about myself. Like I wasn't a good person. Like honestly, I felt like when I got out, it took a lot for me to really learn how to trust again, like how to move past the loss of self of who I was and learn what my identity was again as a person. That was very difficult. Um, Existing that way in my past relationship, and I knew that if I didn't heal from those traumas, that I would carry them forth into the next relationship or the next thing that I was going to get involved in. And I knew that it was going to have to take a lot of internal work, a lot of things like breaking myself back down to almost nothing to coming back to, getting a better foundation for who I was because I knew at some point I wanted to go out and find somebody and go out and date and find love again. I didn't give up on love when I left. I just had to learn to love myself first, concentrate on that, and then um, decide that when I felt like I was ready, then to move into the next phase of my life, which then leads me into finding this amazing woman sitting next to me. But it took a lot. It took a lot of pain. It took a lot of heartache. It took a lot of struggles, endless nights staying up late because your mind just wouldn't let you not think about it. Even as much as you wanted to just say it didn't happen, or even if you wanted to just ignore it, your mind sometimes does not let go of those things. And that's part of it is that's the part of just, again, all the criticism and gaslighting that you get from a previous partner. That's where it does the damage. Is not in the moment and not when it's there. It's later on when you have time to think about it and you start processing it and you're like, man, I can't. Is that me? Am I really that bad, or is it the other person that makes you just question yourself? And it sucks. It sucks, but
Yeah, especially when people put the blame entirely on you. And so, especially, when they do that and then you start to internalize it and you think it is all your fault. And then it's like you're blaming yourself and you're figuring out, why did I do this? And yeah, you can spend lots of countless nights. I did that. Lots of countless nights just repeating the same things in my head over and over and wishing to God that I had done something differently to save my marriage. Like, I thought my marriage failure was all my fault, that I was the reason that caused our marriage to fail. And it took a lot to heal from that as well.
yeah, and it goes back to it goes back to what we were talking about in the very beginning of our presentation about trauma bonding. So, what if you don't know what it is? It is just an unhealthy emotional attachment to someone that develops between an abuser and a victim, where the abuser causes the victim physical, emotional, and or sexual harm. And the thing is, when you get into such relationships, the abusive partner can fluctuate between extreme affection and extreme abuse in repeated cycles. And part of what I learned about you from the very beginning is when you started telling me about your first marriage and your first real relationship like that, the abuse, but then the emotional addiction to staying around after this person would come back to you and apologize and tell you, it was just their anger, and they would tell you all the things, and it was enough to keep you in that cycle, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Yeah. So the that first relationship, thank God I didn't get married to him, so I wasn't married to him.
oh, okay, you
Uh
you just
yeah, we dated and lived together, but it was both. With him it was both the emotional and the physical trauma and abuses that he did to me. And in my marriage, it's a little tricky because for most people, they would not, just looking at the whole situation and understanding everything that was involved, would ever say that any of it was abuse. And even I don't think it's abuse necessarily, but at the same time, the emotional things that people say and do to you can be abuse.
Yeah,
It can be
that's almost
abuse.
definition gaslighting.
Yeah, because I spent about 7 months being treated and told that the reason we split up was all my fault. And it was torment. I mean, I had to live through that for about 7 months of no affection, no love, no kisses, no hugs, no cuddles, no any of that. And it was torture to make it to for me to feel like everything was my fault. And then for months after we split up again, it was the same thing, me just blaming myself and just putting myself into a darker depression. I went through two depressions after that. So it was really hard to get through and to understand that, yeah, I know I made some mistakes along the way, but the entire situation was not 100% my fault.
Yeah. And but the good thing is, and this is the fun part about it, there's hope to move past all of these things. There's the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel that you get to look at and say, okay, there's something there. And that's where we kind of come in. We want to be that shining example of what that can be and where you can find your happiness, because I like meeting you, and then eventually like moving in and then getting engaged. All of that has been an adventure that I would want to live over and over again. It's been wonderful, but it took us both having to go through all of this stuff here and essentially doing what we've talked about. It's like you have to look at yourself internally and wonder if if the time is right, if things, even if you I mean, if you want to even look for love. I mean, the thing is, we both kind of fell into it a little bit, so to speak, because we tried and we had tried, and we both got, I don't know, fed up with the process, and it was taking time away and a breather away from it all that actually brought us together. And part of how life is funny and in how it fluctuates is that you can have the best expectations of saying, I want to go find love, and then you go out and searching for it, doesn't happen, and then you give up on it, and for whatever reason, and you're at a grocery store and there's a man buying the same kind of bread as you, and you make a conversation, and then it leads into God knows what. That's the beauty of what love and happiness can lead to you. But yeah, I think the underlying message that I want to just convey to everybody is that you still have to be prepared for it, right? I mean, if you, I don't know how many times when I was just searching that I would talk to different individuals, and one of the things that I heard over and over again is, well, I said, well, I think I still need to work on myself, right? And that was crazy to me to think about, because I'm thinking, well, why are you out here into the dating world? Why are you trying to take on another relationship, to cohabitate with somebody, to go just whatever, and you're not feeling like you're in a space that you're going to be part of your best self with that person? Like, yeah, I don't know. It was just difficult to go through, but I knew that when I met you, that I was ready. And the wonderful thing about finding you was that you were also ready, and it was
Yeah.
perfect timing.
But what was interesting about it is I didn't know I was ready because I had pretty much given up on finding a long-term relationship. I just figured, I'll talk to people and not going to really look for that long-term relationship because it's just I don't know if it's for me. I was ready to live a single life for the rest of my life. My brother moved in, and I was like, "Hey, you can live with me until we both die." Like, I don't anticipate myself ever getting married again. So I had no when I started talking to Gabe, I had no intention of that's where we were going to head. But he asked me a question and said, would I don't remember exactly how he asked, but would I um what kind of like what are my long-term goals in finding somebody, would I ever get married again? Because he knew I had been married once. And so he wanted to know if I would get married again. And so I told him, like, honestly, it would really have to take finding the right person, because I'm not going to just marry anybody. Like, it would have to be the right person, because I had sworn off marriage. I did not want to get married. So he took that as a sign that I could be the one. And so he continued to pursue me, and here we are today.
Yes, engaged and on the verge of getting married next year. But you know, again, it took a lot. It took a lot of things for us to kind of be able to come together. And it, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Let me, I got to take a moment. Um, this always happens, and I'm just going to make mention of it because I know
Talk
people
about
are
our
watching,
bird.
not just our bird, but our cat and our dog. Like any other time, they would just be asleep, not even paying attention. They would just be meandering
The
about
animals love it when we go
it.
live.
But when we go live, it's like it's performance time for them too. The dog's over here like messing with his toy. The cat and him are running around, and now the bird is squawking. But I just got to say it anyway because that's just how our life is. But that's the beauty of it. That's why I love the life that I have, is because I have all of these wonderful things around me, and I wouldn't trade any of it. None of this. We were actually having a deep conversation before we started doing the recording, and um, one of the things that I love that she made mention of is like, you've never tried to change me, you've never tried to do anything, and I just told her the same thing that I,
I said, well, this is how I said it.
yeah,
I said,
yeah, go,
I said, nothing I do ever bothers you. Like, he's never complained about anything that I've ever done. So essentially, yeah, he's not trying to change me. But he's just never pointed out like any of my flaws or anything wrong or anything that bothers me. And I'm like, you know, I I just find it different, because I think a lot of times people will. And then that's where the nitpicking comes in, and the arguments, and, all of that, because something someone does, the other person doesn't like. And then it starts to go back and forth. And then, one negative comment to one, then the other person wants to do. And so that's never happened with us. Like, we're just very positive. Even I just completed my comprehensive exam for sociology. I'm getting my master's this semester, is my last semester. And he just walked up to me and was just telling me all these beautiful things about how proud he is of me and all of this. He's very uplifting, and we try to do that for each other. And it makes a beautiful relationship, a beautiful, healthy relationship.
yeah, and that's it. Again, that's the work that I did prior to meeting her, because I also made I made a judgment for myself that I was always going to meet people where they are and understand that that is who they are. That like I think most people get into relationships sometimes, this like you were just mentioning, baby, this that they try to change the other person. Um and instead of saying, you know what, I can help elevate and amplify what you are as a person, and bring those good things that are about who you are out to the world even brighter. No, they fight, and they create a darker, deeper resistance, and that's what causes the friction in a lot of relationships. And I think the key to our happiness is that we both understand it about each other.
Yeah,
And
there's no passive aggressive anything. So, and I think that's where some of it starts from, like little bitty things that somebody says, in a joking manner, and then it just gets out of control. But yeah, we don't do that to each other ever.
no, it's just I again I love her for who she is, and whatever that person she wants to be, um, I'm gonna love her unconditionally and regardless of any of that. Um, because I know who she is
Yeah, I say random things all the time.
all the time.
I'm like, so you're gonna still love me if I do this or that, or like I'll just make up some random stuff, and he's like, and then of course, like, what was it the other day?
Oh, um,
I said something about. I think. Oh, I burped. That's
oh
what it
yeah,
was.
that's right.
Yeah, I burped, and it was nasty. It was a gross burp, and I was like, "Would you still kiss me, even though I just burped this weird smell?" And he was like, "Of course, baby, I will."
That's right. That's not gonna stop me. Uh,
He was like, "Yeah, what if we were stuck in a desert for months and
you had
we
nasty breath and everything else. You think I'm just gonna stop loving you because that? Look, the circumstances around where you find yourself shouldn't matter. It shouldn't change the perspective of where you are. You love that person regardless of anything and everything. And that's truly what I think what love is, because this is this is my own personal feeling that that's the way that God loves me, the way I am and the way that I do. And I'm going to do that to the person that I love the most. Same way. I'm going
and that's the one thing that really struck me when we first started talking was like, oh my gosh, his love, like it's like I can feel God's love through Gabe. He loves just like God loves him, and I feel it, and it's incredible.
yeah.
It really is.
So, gosh, man, we can just talk and talk and talk.
We're at 31
We're at
minutes, we got to
31
get
minutes. We're going to try to cut it off and be a little bit more prompt about it. But I want to just say thank you to Crystal for the opportunity to allow us to share a little bit of our story. And if you want to learn more about who we are and what we do, please feel free to go check out our YouTube channel at Unwrap Love. We have we had one season. It's I believe it's like 35 episodes. You can go check out what we've done from beginning to end. Um, we are just that passionate about love and wanting to help others discover what that is for them. And, hopefully we get to continue this journey together, and you guys get to follow what we do, because I get so much joy getting to work with her. And I don't know how many husbands could actually say that, or would say that I love working with my wife, but I do. So
Yeah, and I'll be looking forward to when I finish my master's. I have two classes I'm working on. Just did the comprehensive exam, so that's out of the way. Now I just have to pass the two classes and then I can graduate. And then after that, we're going to have so much more free time.
we're looking forward to that. So, all right, thank you
Yes.
again, everybody. Again, my name is Gabe Lil,
And I'm Yvette Richardson.
and we'll see you very soon. And we're gonna do this anyway because this is how we end our shows anyway. So here you go. That's
Love
just
you.
love. I love you. So there you go. And again, please reach out to us if you want to learn more about what we do and how maybe we could possibly help you if that is a thing that you need. So thank you again. And thank you, Crystal. And
Thank
please
you.
enjoy the rest of the seminar and all the wonderful speakers that are joining. So
Thank
until
you so
then,
much.
bye, everybody.
Bye.